paper instead of going for an internship. और वो जो कुछ भी लिख के लाया था उसमें सवाल ही सवाल थे, तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा था. तो उन सवालों की खोज में हम दोनों एक दूसरे से बातें करते रहते थे, जुड़ते रहते थे. आई थिंक उन सवालों का जवाब इसमें कहीं अपनी पीएचडी भी खोजा है. एंड we'll just be hearing or listening to both of them share about their experiences. So formally introducing to you Amit. Amit is an engineer by training and an IIT Madras graduate, discovered his true path in 2009 when he left his job to work with children. What began as a shift in career soon became a lifelong journey of learning, unlearning, and growing with young minds. In 2014, inspired by Tagore, Tolstoy, and Gandhi, he founded a little groove in Secunderabad, a democratic, inclusive community learning space where children of different ages explore, create, and learn together at their own rhythm. Here, learning is shaped by participation, cooperation, and care rather than competition. Children help design their routines, contribute to the upkeep of the space, and experience freedom with responsibility. Open to children from diverse financial, social, and behavioral backgrounds, A Little Groove embodies Amit's belief that love is the deepest teacher. He enjoys music, wood carving, and crafts and continues to learn from the children who inspire him every day. तो हम कुछ जर्नी इनका देखेंगे along with Priyank. Priyank is currently an associate director at Surasa, where he leads teacher professional development across global contexts. His work integrates educational technology, learning science, research, and ground level implementation with a particular scholarly focus on the grammar of alternate education spaces. He has contributed to the development of edtech products that strengthen curriculum, instruction, and evidence based pedagogical decision making in K to 12 settings. Priyank also serves as an ambassador for 100, that's how we pronounce it, and sits on advisory boards for organizations such as SITA India, where he supports the creation of a culturally rooted rural school, and CoLab, where he mentors team working on equitable, inclusive learning spaces. His writings have appeared in Amar Ujala, and his academic work has been published in Scopus Index journals. He will soon be joining an international teachers university as assistant professor, further advancing his work at the intersection of evidence-informed practice, teacher education, and educational information innovation. Sorry. Thank you, and over the to you.
Yes. Start with a little song. Wait. It's a Kabir song we sang it yesterday night also. If you know, you can sing. It's called Mat Kar Maya Ko Ahankar Mat Kar. Amazon पे बहुत कॉस्टली हो गया था तो हमने सोचा हैंडल से बनाएंगे. Before I started Little Pro, I thought if that doesn't work, I'll go and work with a government school. Teach there. Today in the morning, listening to both of you was indescribable. And the kind of work that there were no words actually. In my last 14 years of life, I have heard these many different words: mainstream education, alternative education, community education, and this. And unfortunately, in a lot of forums and groups, when we go for these meetings and alternatives and all, they are always at loggerhead. Our way is right. In fact, some people say all schools should be closed.
Yeah.
This is the right way. This is the way we should do it. And but no, listening to that, there is no one way which is right. There is no one path. And there might be differences, and differences are needed. But we have to all work together and support each other in these different paths. I think that is what is the key. Well, I'll not speak much about the space that I run. I didn't prepare it that way. I just thought for 15-20 minutes I'll share with you some stories. I'm not also very good with speaking, so I wrote down what I so I'll be reading out. So in case you want to sleep, you can sleep. When I was a child, I dreamt of becoming a monk. That is what I used to tell my parents. The world didn't interest me so much. I always saw it as a game. The people are playing to try and seek out happiness, but nobody is able to find happiness. But we are trying different ways to find happiness. I was always fascinated by Buddha, how he went and sat under the trees and tried to learn from the trees. So I also wanted to go into the forest and learn about life from trees. And my parents and my grandparents were very scared of this proposition. But then life had other plans. By mistake in college, I fell in love. And so this becoming monk thing went out of question.
That's best.
Then, so I was actually in dilemma after I passed out that now I can't become a monk, so what can I do? Now I have to be in this world. If I have to get married, then I'll have to earn money also. And how do I earn money and what do I do? But for me, fortunately, this thing was crystal clear that I love spending time with children. And children love spending time with me. That was also very clear. So for about a year, after I graduated from engineering, it was not that I wanted that job. Placements hote hain, you sit with a begging bowl. Please, I've worked hard. My whole life is meant for you only. So that happened. Then I got selected to work with World Bank, and I thought it might be good because World Bank might be doing good for the people. I was a little naive at that time. But one thing that I noticed, within about a year, disillusionment grew and I thought I'll leave. That is not something that I want to do. But during that time, something nice happened. There used to be so many these night parties that World Bank used to organize in big hotels, where and so families would come and all that, and I was not so much interested. But one thing that I realized was a lot of children used to come. So I used to be with those kids, and these other employees, they were also very happy that now the children are not disturbing, and so I was in one corner with the kids, and there I saw that this is something that interests me and I could do that. That is something I can do for my life. Spending time with children. Spending time with children meant that I have to start a school now. So when I quit my job, I started looking for what kind of school, some best school I should try. So I visited some best of the schools and thought that. But then again, fortunately, what happened was I kept on traveling and volunteering with many different people, and went to places which were not there on internet, which were hidden somewhere in some remote villages and doing wonderful work. I spent about 2 years doing that. After 2 years, at that point, I realized that now I don't want to start a school. I would want to start a place where children have a say. I would want to start a place where children are running the place. And that's how slowly A Little Grove started. A Little Grove is a very... see, I also don't know whether A Little Grove should exist or it should not exist. Especially during the early years, I was also scared because it doesn't have any legal standing. It's just a learning center. We have not even registered as a trust. It is just community of people coming together based on trust. Our all accounts are also done just on Excel sheet. Parents can pay whatever they want to contribute. We share our expenditure, that this much would be our expenditure for this coming year. You see based on your capacity how much best you can contribute, and then they contribute. And then we tell that if you are contributing, you can directly pay the rent this month, you can directly pay to this teacher, you can directly pay. So because we are not registered as a trust, there is no central account. But the fact that we have been able to run a place without anything, without even creating a trust or anything, with about 30, 40 families, is something that I feel happy about. That education is not such a complicated and big thing. I think it just needs somebody to care and somebody to open her courtyard for children around. Start a small library. Start a small little thing, and that's all it is needed. Children will be happy around. I mean, little work that these people have done, they just opened something out with love, and that becomes enough for the children to be there. The first story is the story that you all know, but it is a slightly modified version of that story by Rabindranath Tagore. It's called The Parrot's Training. In The Parrot's Training, we are told of a golden cage that is built to educate a wild and curious parrot. She was excited when she was little, and teachers were ready. Teachers tried teaching her from the pages of official textbooks. Days went by, but that did not seem to interest the parrot. So more activity-based things were introduced to teach the concepts. The cage was also decorated with many colorful pictures and charts, and many different things were brought in the cage, and the cage was filled with many other paraphernalia. There was a blip in their interest, but it died as soon as it came. And so Harvard researchers were invited to conduct study on parrot's brain and multiple intelligences. And so as a result, multiple research papers came out. But nothing positive happened to the parrot. So the educators again came together to talk. Well-intentioned educators. They decided that we need a better environment. A bigger cage was built with more amenities. A software company also donated iPads for parrot to learn. As her distress increased, she was introduced to meditation also. Some concerned individual suggested that parrot needs a loving hug, someone to listen to her. What she is yearning for is free time. Not understanding what she really meant, an hour of self-reflection was included in an overly packed timetable of the parrot. In the story, they say that over the years, parrot did end up learning a few things, but lost the interest in learning itself. She slowly became dependent on the very cage she earlier wanted to break out from. She internalized the fact that people around her were indeed doing a favor to her and that she and eventually her children too needed support of this wonderful cage. One day, the cage was accidentally left open, but the parrot was afraid to venture out now. She was no longer curious, and her spirit had withered her. This question haunts me. That till a child is 3 years old, and we all have seen children at home, a child continuously participates in how the child wants to decide the day. We always ask, are you hungry? Do you want to eat now? Shall we go to park, or today you don't want to go to park? Today I want to just do my artwork or something. And there is always a conversation that happens with the child. But then what happens after 3 years? At the 4th year, the child is put in a school where no longer the child will be asked, what is it that you want to do? She does not have any say. And we adults are ready with our knowledge and innumerable belief systems to teach her what life is all about. Everything now that she will learn for next 12 years of her life has been more or less pre-decided by us adults. Many a times by those sitting somewhere far. I remember there was one speaker in one of the educational related conferences a couple of years ago. And the very first slide said that the child anyways doesn't have any say in deciding what she would learn. And surprisingly and sadly, nobody in that hall questioned him. That statement, the very first slide of the presentation was passed. And I have been to many such conferences, adults discussing how children should learn, how they should be taught, but almost never have I seen a child present in any one of these conferences. If the conference is about learning, about children, then children should be present there. If the conference is about tribal people, then tribal people should be present there. And that to me that is one of the biggest wall that we need to break. There is one person, Aaron Falbel, and I like, he had written Aaron, Aaron Falbel. He had written this nice article, Growing Without Schooling, and in that he writes very nicely. He says, learning is like breathing. It comes very naturally to us, and we have all observed it in 2-3 year old children, how they learn. In the slums of Bangalore, children learn up to 4 languages by the time they are 4, without help of any schools or teachers. A child's freedom of learning, he says, is part of his freedom of thought, which is even more basic than his freedom of speech. No human right except the right to life itself is more fundamental than this. If we take from someone their right to decide what they will be curious about, or if we tell them that you must think not about what interests and concerns you, but about what interests and concerns us, we destroy their freedom of thought. One of my favorite quotes on education is by Leo Tolstoy. He says, education is the tendency of one person to make another one just like himself or herself. It is a compulsory, forcible action of one person upon another. Rabindranath Tagore, after many years, writes of what he thinks education should be. And he simply states that object of education is freedom of mind. which can only be achieved through path of freedom. These quotes help me understand something very deep, that we must learn to trust the child. This story also makes me wonder what a learning space would look like if children could follow their own hearts, if they were invited to shape their own learning journey, which would actually break the whole system apart. When you are asking the child, when the child is guiding you, in the very true sense, a 4-year-old child is guiding you. And you are holding her hand and walking the path of learning and not guiding her. You are there with her as a friend. There was one very beautiful story called Tea and Talk. I just changed and adapted it. I'll share that story. That story reminds me of and probably shares with you a glimpse of how Little Grove would have started. The story goes like this. In a small lane in Hyderabad, tucked between two old neem trees, lived a 60-year-old woman, Swasti. There is a very nice book on Buddha written by a Vietnamese monk, Thich Nhat Hanh, Old Path, White Clouds. I don't know if you've read.
Old Path.
Old Path, White Clouds. Yes, it's a very beautiful book. In that, Thich Nhat Hanh, yes. In that, that boy's name is Swasti, so I took the name of this lady from there. So lived a 60-year-old woman, Swasti. Her children had moved to cities, and the house had gone quieter, though her husband was still there reading his newspaper and tending to the garden. Swasti and her husband spent their mornings watering the plants and feeding sparrows. In the afternoon, she embroidered little flowers on cloth bags she had stitched by hand. Life was peaceful, but she often felt the world around her growing heavier. In the evenings, she saw children walking to tuitions with tired eyes, grandparents standing at their gates with now no one to talk to because children had gone to different cities. Young mothers who looked like they needed someone to ask them, "How are you today?" One evening, a thought came to her. Moved by a soft stirring, Swasti placed a warm yellow lamp in her courtyard and set a small wooden board. And the board read, "Tea and Talk, always open." The first few nights, no one came. A street cat visited once. Children, while running, going to tuitions, paused, smiled, and then walked on. On the 6th night, someone did. A 17-year-old girl, Anu. She stopped at the gate. "Can I sit here for a while?" she asked. Swasti made warm lemon tea and sat with her. After a lot of hesitation, Anu spoke softly. She spoke about a fight at home, about school feeling too loud, and about missing her grandmother. Swasti listened and said, "I'm so glad that you are here." Next day, Anu returned, this time with her friend Sneha. Then came a college boy dealing with exam fear, and then a recently widowed tailor who didn't know how to deal with her loss. People came quietly, one by one, and slowly the space started to grow. Someone brought an old charpai. Some children spread floor mats there. A neighbor came and hung small fairy lights on the neem branches, and a watchman donated another flask for the tea. The courtyard slowly started turning into a small learning place, not just filled with books, but with listening, warmth, stories, and kindness. Children started doing their homework there. A retired teacher sometimes helped them. A young mother brought picture books for the little ones, and a carpenter repaired a broken bench without asking for money, and later taught children how to make small chairs for themselves. Nothing here was meticulously planned. It simply grew, like plants finding sunlight on their own. When electricity was not there, people brought candles. Children, parents, neighbors, wrapped in shawls, gathered in dark. Someone brought warm milk. This place feels like home, someone whispered. By summer, the courtyard was filled with life. Swasti just continued to smile, pour tea, and listen. One morning, Swasti found a note under the lamp. It read, I slept peacefully last night after many months. Thank you so much for listening. Meera. And then more notes followed. Today, for the first time, I spoke without fear. My daughter smiled again and is going happily to her school. I found hope here. Swasti's place never made the news. It never went viral. But it traveled. Somewhere near to her house, a mechanic opened his garage to teach children about engines. A retired Air Force officer started a library at his home. It's been 4 years since, and even now, every night Swasti lights her lamp. Because sometimes changing the world doesn't look like a movement at all. Sometimes it's just a warm light, a tea kettle, and a place to cry without shame. And the belief that healing begins with a door left open and one woman who knew that it was enough. I wish our world had countless small corners of love and learning, run by many more swastis with open hearts. Places where children could walk in, feel peace and happiness. Children and adults too, all the same. But when I look around, sadly, I hardly find any. And that brings me to a very tiny fourth story. And my topic, that we need to learn to love again. There was a movie I had seen a few years ago. In that there was this old man. So what this old man used to do was he used to write beautiful poetry and then hide it. So somebody asked him, why do you do that? And he said it is his way of punishing the world. Creating beautiful work and keeping it away from humans. He says it is because after so many years we still have not learned how to love. I do sometimes feel this. As human beings, when we grow up, we forget what it truly means to love one another. We become wrapped up in our own desires, our own fears, and it slowly begins to show in how we relate to the world around us. Over time, the little ones that I have spent have taught me how simple life can be. How one can be happy and peaceful for no special reason. How to forgive easily and not carry a grudge for hours and hours and days. They have shown me something that I have almost forgotten. The joy of feeling truly happy for someone else's happiness. They have shown me what it means to love again. And sometimes I wonder what makes these little ones so capable of love, so full of peace. Maybe because they live so completely in the present moment. Maybe because they are fully awake and alive. The regrets of past and the worries of future have not yet entered into their hearts. When they are with you, they are entirely with you, not lost somewhere in their thoughts. And we too were like this once. We too were fully present, fully alive. And that presence of ours, that in itself was love. And I believe that we can find our way back to that place. We can, a place of peace, a place of true care. And once we find that place, then that will be enough. Nothing else is required. Nothing more is needed at all. And when I truly think of that, then I feel this whole thing should be reversed. Like he said, we need children to teach us again how to live, and not the other way around. Children don't need us, we need them. I think Tagore himself had written that every new child who is born is a signal from God that he has not given up on humanity yet. To love deeply, simply, and openly is the most profound thing I have ever discovered. In my search for truth and God, it is the closest thing I have come to know God. It has power to heal our broken world. If I could bring every child in the world together for a moment, I would love to tell them a story. And the story I would choose is this one. On a starry night, I will gather all of them together. As they count the stars, I will tell them that in our world there is more than enough for everyone's need, and that there is no need to continuously compete with each other to thrive. I will tell them that here everyone is already pretty. No one needs to be thinner or fatter, fairer or darker, shorter or taller. No one needs to be great, successful, rich or famous to be accepted and to be loved. I will tell them that they all are so curious and that they all love to learn, that it's their nature, that learning is a bliss and it need not necessarily be graded or certified, that they can choose to learn that interests them, that what they are curious about. I will draw them close and tell them that in this world everything is alive and needs to be loved and cared for, and nothing, no hill or a forest or a human is just a resource, and that no one in this world is an enemy. I will sing them about the bravery of the ant, the love story of a tree, and beauty of their mother. And as they yawn and close their eyes, I will go back to quickly start working towards creating such a world where we have learned to love again. Thank you.